Hi, Marvin.
Hello.
Hi, is it okay, your time?
Yes, spot on. Yes.
Yes, okay, good.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Have you had a good day so far?
Yeah, I've been working on some papers, and as usual,
Yeah. Yeah.
always there's something to do.
That's right. You don't get bored, do you? Yeah. I bet the lockdown wasn't a time for boredom or, looking for things to do. You had plenty to keep busy with.
Well, I think you miss the social interaction with
Yeah.
people and
Mm.
meeting people, having a cup of tea together or coffee together or meal together, and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not the same, but at least we have this wonderful technology where you can actually see and talk to people this time.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's great.
Mm.
That's great.
Yeah. Arul, what I like to do is to go a little bit into the subject, which is very much to do with the children you sponsor. You very kindly agreed to sponsor a number of children within the APSL scholarship scheme, which we set up 5 years ago, and you continue to do that. Recently, we also shared with you little information booklets about the young children who are benefiting from your bursaries. And as part of this, the offer is there for the sponsors to name their bursaries after somebody that had an impact on their life, somebody important to them, whether it's their own parents or teacher or a significant figure. Now, in your case, you decided to name the bursaries after your mum, Sabarathnam. Now, somebody like you who is a world citizen, making such an impact on the society, without sounding to be exaggerating, I don't need to say anymore, people know about it. But somebody like you hold this lady in esteem. We are curious. She must have done something to get you where you are, the person who you are. And we know very little about this lady. So we for the benefit of everybody listening, particularly the mothers of the children, this could be a role model. And for the younger children, this will be important. And we like to hear a little bit about Gnana, please.
Thank you. So the principles behind for any children to come up is they must have some faith in some religion. It need not be one particular religion. The second is actually respect their parents, and third is to respect their teachers.
Yeah.
So respecting the parents is quite an important thing. Otherwise, you are not a whole individual if you can't respect your parents. So my father and mother, both I respect, but mother I decided to name the bursaries on her name because they are what they call as the unsung heroes of the world, the mothers, because
Yeah.
they look after the whole family. They are the backbone of the family. They make sure everything in the house clicks. There's food on the table for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Some people have only 2 meals. Sometimes there's not enough vegetable or whatever it is. They find something or other in the garden and pluck some leaves or whatever it is and make something for you to eat and drink. So Gnanambikai, full name, and Jnana for short, is a lady like that. We had 5 siblings, including me. I was number 2, 5 boys, no girls.
Yeah.
And she looked after all the 5 very diligently. We had to go to school. We had clean clothes. She washed and ironed and kept it. And the early days, there was no ironing. We just stretched the clothes and then put it on.
Mm.
And then when we come home after for lunch, we used to come home. And then she had something for us. And then in the evening we come, then there's something for us. So she made sure that we were well clothed and well fed. And she looked after all the accessory issues because the father, being a government servant, was very strict.
Mm.
And when he comes, then we are all seated on the table studying. Sometimes he's a bit authoritative and says something, and as children we get a little upset, so we go to the mother and cry, and she sort of pacifies you in many ways.
Mm.
And says, don't worry, everything will be okay, and I'll speak to him or something. And even if you want to go somewhere to get permission, we are scared to ask the father. We ask the mother to, she's the representative for us to ask the father to see,
Mm.
let him go and play or let him go and do something or let him visit somebody.
Mm.
So she is actually the custodian of the children. And I'm sure it must be the same for many families, especially in Sri Lanka, the parents. And usually they play a fine balance between father and the mother. So mother did whatever it is. But most of what I really respect is actually after I went to the university, her mother, that's my grandmother, and her sister were living next to our house. But the grandmother suddenly passed away, and my aunt or her sister was still studying. So she brought her into the house, and she was staying with us. She looked after her, got her married, and she's doing well. And then soon after that, her brother and his wife died suddenly, and they had 4 children.
Right.
So then 2 of them were going to the university, so the other 2 came to live with us. And she made sure they looked after them, fed them, educated them, and got them married. And so she had done more than one family share, so as to speak.
Indeed. Yeah.
Of course, so she has devoted her life for children.
Yeah.
Of course, at that time, her own children as well as relatives or close relatives.
Yeah.
So that she had the passion to make sure the children are looked after well. So I thought it might be best to name the scholarships on her name.
Yeah, that's a very, very thoughtful, because this is somebody who loved children.
Yes.
Yeah, behind the scenes did so much to help and uplift the children. So yeah, so in a way that will be a real honor to her as well as to the children to receive a grant in her name. We'll want to make sure the name is known, the story is heard, because I think she deserves it. Yeah, and second one is there is a value in the mothers and the children knowing what sort of lady she was. Now, a couple of things I picked up was that she was quiet behind the scenes, but a very gentle, caring person. She was the peacemaker, but she put the duty first. Yeah, whether it's the parents or the sister or somebody else's children, nothing was too much. Bring them on. We'll find a way. That's what sort of attitude. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Say a little bit about your brothers and your brothers. You didn't have sisters. It's a family of 5 boys. The mother.
Yeah. So I'm number 2. So my elder brother was an accountant who worked in Wallachina in the paper factory, and then he went to Zambia. Then he went to Vancouver, and a few years ago he passed away. And family is still in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Then myself, my family is in London. Myself, my wife, my daughter, and 2 sons. So they are here. And then my next brother also went to Toronto.
Yeah.
He was also a chartered accountant, and he married. He had no children.
Yeah.
And he's also no more, but his wife settled down in Toronto. And the 4th one is in Calgary. He's an engineer, qualified in Sri Lanka. And then he did a few years in Sri Lanka, went to Calgary as an environmental engineer.
Yeah.
And now he's retired with his wife and 2 children who are settled down. The final one is in London. He's doing some business, and he has 3 children, and one is settled and the other 2 are working.
Yeah.
That's nutshell 5 in the family. Yes.
Yeah, the families between UK and Canada.
Yes.
Yeah. And you are all professionals, either accountants, engineering, or medicine.
Yes. So I'm the only one who did medicine.
Yeah.
3 of them did accountancy and 1 did engineering. So
Gnana must be looking down with a great deal of satisfaction.
Yes, I mean she was alive and well when we all have got married and so on. So she knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And the latter part, she had dementia. She was living with us most of the time.
Yeah.
And we looked after her till the last year of her life when she had a stroke and she needed some help. So we had to put her in a care home.
Yeah.
But she had dementia, so which is inevitable at the age of 89.
89, that's a good old age.
She passed away at the end of 1 year at the care home.
Yeah. That's very inspiring, and a nice lady, and had no doubt a lot of satisfaction seeing that all her efforts have being worthwhile, and children benefited from them, and that they went on to become citizens of the world doing so much good. So in a way, while she was quiet and maybe quiet housewife, uh, she held the levers that generated this effect that sort of spreading all over, and a lot of other people are learning from, benefiting from, and sort of life-saving services that you have been doing, you are doing.
Yeah, I think she was a formidable lady, and we learned how to be compassionate, how to
Yeah,
be committed, how to give and take from each other as brothers. We have our own rivalries, but she will come and be the peacemaker. And so we learned about how to be compassionate to other human beings from her.
yeah. How you made him feel as a young lad, having time for him, and the sort of compassion and graciousness of the word. When I listened to that, I felt that's exactly how I feel talking to you. And
Thank
no,
you.
nothing is too much trouble, and you have the time and patience, and you have got this incredible talent for dealing with emails, whatever time it comes. You are known for replying positively every time, and people saying, "Well, where does he get the time?" So you are a through and through professional. I think you are an amazing role model to a lot of Sri Lankans or anybody else professionals, and that is one of the things that I want to point out in this video, because there'll be a lot of APSL members and other professionals watching this. So I'm sure you developed it over the years, but you have had some very good role models putting you on that sort of track to develop, and in turn you leave that example behind for others to imitate and say, right, if Arul has with all these commitments, all these demands, can do that, we should get our act together and be more responsive. And one of the things that I really appreciate is that you have this amazing grace, amazing ability. Whether it's Arul the person, Arul the doctor, I don't know. Perhaps you can shed light on that. You have this ability to make people feel very comfortable with themselves. Is that coming from your dad, your mom, or is this something you yourself developed from some other role model?
No, I think you develop from observing the others and how you behave yourself. So my father, during the young days, used to say that, I would rather have you as a postman, where people tell that you're a postman but a good man, your son, but rather than becoming a consultant in the hospital and saying your son is the consultant but he's a nasty man.
Yeah,
So the choice was being a nice man compared to being a consultant.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that sort of registered in my mind. But then
yeah,
I had a number of role models. I worked with Dr. Ganesan in Carson Street, then Dr. Ashley Dasanayake.
yeah,
Ashley, I worked with him for 2.5 years. He was so gentle with the patients and
yeah,
made sure they felt comfortable. He spoke to them nicely, to the relatives. And so I learned a lot
yeah,
by following very senior medical as well as family members, how
yeah,
best to make people feel comfortable in what to do when there are sensitive issues which crop up, how to communicate. Although you pick up some of these in the medical school, but
yeah,
you pick up more and more when you start practicing by learning some senior clinician. And Ashton Dusnack was one of them
mm,
at Castle Street. I still visit his wife, and I go there and we meet and we have a chat. So
mm,
we still, I mean, when he was there, I meet him, but now I meet his wife,
mm,
um, because I'm grateful that I inculcated some of the habits or his mannerism and behavior so that I can make patients feel comfortable when they are seeing me. Well, I think the important thing is about education.
yeah,
We are talking about scholarships and education.
yeah,
One thing in life people cannot steal or take it away from you is education, your knowledge and your experience.
Yeah.
If you have a house, it can get destroyed in the tsunami or the fire or something.
Yeah.
If you have money in the bank, somebody might steal it. But if you have a good education and a good background, then not only you can work in Sri Lanka and get a job and work, or even if you go to another country, whether it's England, Canada, anything,
Yeah.
your education will stand for your good. So that's the
Yeah.
fourth most important. You have to focus when you have, it is not every child who gets the opportunity to study in school.
Yeah.
If we get the opportunity to study, and especially if we get a scholarship, so much the better. And you must really use it to the maximum. And because education is something which belongs to you and nobody else can take it from you, and that will stand in good stead. Number two is actually you can build wherever you end up. So don't try to go for comfortable life at the end of your first strata of education. You graduate, you get a job. It doesn't mean that's the end of it. If you have the energy, and also if your family, sometimes you might have too many family commitments, so you can't really engage in other studies. But if your family permits you, then you must go for higher education so that you can get a higher education degree, because the more you learn, you get a better job. But you must be serious about it. You must learn. And when you go for a job, you aim high. You really make sure that you prepare yourself as to what these jobs advertised. And I said an example of a manager and a head clerk. If you want to be manager, then you must really focus your mind. What are the qualities to be a manager? And you must focus on that issue. And the most important thing is actually to make sure that you don't deprive the others around you because you are focusing relentlessly on a goal. So you must also be a family person, also look after your family and make sure that you focus on that issue as well. Because unless you are happy, things in the family are doing well, then at work, then you get upset. You can't focus your mind. So unless you make sure your child is sick or wife is sick and you attend to her before you go to the work, if you go to the work, you'll be always thinking about home. So you have to make sure your family environment is calm and quiet and you provide for them so you can focus on your work quite well. So it's simple things, but everybody will see when you go to the work, you also have a think like Dalai Lama says, think good, speak good, do good, and continue to do it as a habit. So same way when you go to any type of work and say, okay, am I doing my job properly? Am I helping somebody? And am I satisfied with what I have achieved for the day? So that's the focus.
Arul, have you got some sort of rituals that makes you productive when you start the day? Because you are somebody who gets to an awful lot of work every day, and there must be something that keeps you energized.
Well, I think the couple of things to remember is actually, if, for example, if I had to travel from Nottingham to London, it takes 2 hours.
Yeah.
If I then start diverting myself on the way, I will drop into somebody's house here or somebody's some shop there and so on, then you won't reach the place in time.
Yeah.
And when you have an appointment at a certain time and if you can't reach, you get stressed about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So in life, actually, whatever job you do, you have to plan. What am I supposed to do for tomorrow, for this week and the next month? And write in a small piece of paper, what are the activities and have I got the time or haven't got the time, how I can devote this time so that I can achieve that. Otherwise, you'll get stressed and you won't be able to achieve. So you must know what is planned for the day, for the week, for the month and the year in advance. You have to plan it well and you devote so that you don't get distracted. So you can sacrifice going to the shop, you can sacrifice diverting to go into some other thing. The second thing to remember is actually life is not a bed of roses all the time because there are always thorns here, thorns there. So you want to pluck a nice rose and you get the thorn comes and pricks you. Now you don't really get annoyed about the thorn and try to cut the bush down. You just put a bandage on and carry on. In other words, when you're walking straight, even in your workplace, there'll be a lot of irritations. Your secretary might not type the letter in time, your house officer might not have gone and seen the patient and so on. And if you get irritated with every single thing and go and argue with them, then you spend a lot of time arguing. It's much easier and better for you to go and attend to the same thing. Okay, you type the letter, or you go and see that patient, or whatever it is. So when I'm walking, what people attack, if you think them as pinpricks of life rather than arrows shooting into you, trying to take the arrow and shoot back, then you have lost the game. If you think it pinpricks of life, just take the pin out and walk straight, then you will reach your goal. So I think you have to focus your mind, don't get distracted, plan well, and execute your work as it should be so that you can achieve, not that you can achieve 100%, but you will achieve most of it. And then don't get distracted towards minor irritations which comes your way. Because otherwise, if you say, I must take this guy to court, so I must take this action against that person and so on. And the final thing is actually, it is not necessary to have a house facing the sea or in the mountain and another house in the city or something. One house is enough. You can't live in two houses. Of course, there are people who have holiday bungalows and 3 cars and so on. So you like to construct your life as simple as possible. One house, one car. If you don't have a car, then you have to find public transport. The reason is I was listening to there's Parthasarathi, a gentleman who teaches about Bhagavad Gita. He says, fools build houses and wise men live in it, because you can build a house in the mountain and near the sea, but then if you're a busy person, a business person, you have money to build, but you have no time to go and stay there, and your children or somebody else is going to enjoy it. And if you're happy with that, that's fine, but the enjoyment, they might go completely crazy. So you have to regulate their life as well. So I think the simple thing is actually to plan well, execute your things, walk in the straight line, don't try to get distracted, and finally don't try to achieve too much and dream of houses and cars and so on, but focus on what is needed for you and for your family. And as long as you get a satisfactory life, then you must be happy.
What makes the difference between success and contentment?
I think if you are content, that means you are successful. Because you have worked your way to make your life success. And the success is not only about success in life as a job, but success in your family life and so forth. Of course, there are certain sacrifices to be made to have success in your job and success in your family life. So, for example, I have very satisfactory and successful family life. I'm happy with my wife. I respect her for whatever she does for the family. Like my mother, for example, she looks after all of us. And in the workplace, I have success by talking to juniors, training them in operating, training them in doing clinical work, doing research, writing books, and so on. The sacrifice I made is actually I'm unable to see friends and relatives the same way they mingle amongst each other, because they have every other week a barbecue, or they go here or go there. I don't have the time or the luxury to do that, because I have decided to focus my mind on my family and my students, the staff, and so on and so forth. So I think to be successful as well as to be content, you have to sacrifice some of the areas which you can't fulfill. In other words, you can't have barbecues and parties. You can't have a trainee come into your home and teach him how to do the PhD plus your wife and children on one side, and going and looking after a sick relative or something. So I think you have to sacrifice certain things in life. But nowadays, with the communication tool, you can lift the phone and say, I'm sorry, I'm unable to come for your party. I can't do something. So I think the choice is left to the individual. So the individual has to decide what they like to have. I mean, let me give you an example. I was in Derby, in Nottingham, where there was a new medical school. I was in charge. I had a lot of friends who are consultants. We have what is called a merit award system for doctors. And one of the measuring point is actually how much they got involved in promoting the whole hospital
Yeah.
as the organization, not only their own department, but the whole hospital,
Yeah.
attending clinical meetings and so on and so forth. So I tell my good friends from Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
say, please come for this clinical meeting, come and mingle with people and make sure that, because by knowing people, you can refer the cases very quickly, have a good discussion and so on.
Yeah.
But then they say, Machang, I got a barbecue party over the weekend. So next weekend, there's something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, it's not a bad thing, but
Yeah.
then of course you have to forget about the merit award, because then people are not going to. When I proposed the name, because I was an executive, non-executive director, as I said, so and so deserves a merit award. They asked, who is that?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because they are not seen, or they are not seeing the person contributing to the organization.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the issue about happiness or contentment and success can be achieved
Yeah.
from whatever you're doing, but then you have to sacrifice something
Yeah.
which you think is least important for you. So for
Yeah.
me, I've decided the least important for me is actually having another house or running around and doing 2, 3 jobs. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to go for barbecues. I will achieve promoting youngsters, as you said about Eddie Morris, the president of the
Yeah.
college now.
Yeah.
So I enjoy doing that. The
Mm.
sacrifice I do is actually meeting friends, meeting relatives, and getting together. If it
Yeah.
is an essential thing like a wedding or funeral, then I do. But
Yeah.
otherwise, socially, that's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So I think in life, one has to really put everything onto a plate and see which section can you draw if you want to be successful. If you can be successful with all 4
Yeah.
or 5, then that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what is available and how much you can achieve. Yes, I mean, I think, we are talking about scholarships. So let us take an example of a student who is carrying a scholarship.
Yeah.
He or she might have a sibling who is younger than that, who might need some educational help.
Yeah.
At the same time, she also has the opportunity of going and playing
Yeah.
and also doing some job to get some extra money. So she has to weigh, and somebody has to guide her to see what is important. I mean, to me, I think helping a sister or brother to achieve the educational standard becomes quite important, because you are uplifting 2 people at the same time.
Yes.
Of course, the sacrifice is actually less playing time or less time to do other things.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it is a tricky balance, but I think it's a balance which has to be achieved for you to be happy and content and successful.
Yes, I think that was a good one, because from the recent GCSE O-level exams, we had 10 children passing. 3 of them got very good marks, and the first 2 got 9 A's in Sri Lanka. That is as good as you can get.
That's good.
So yes, what we decided is for A-levels, we are going to increase the amount for the couple of years they are doing A-levels to help with tuition and others, and also to give them an extra prize to say well done as recognition, just as you mentioned.
Wonderful.
And then use it as an incentive to show to other children, to say you too can aspire, do that, and we are watching, we are here to support you, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay. Thank you, Arul. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All the best.
All the best. All the best. And I'm sure the students will do well with the support you provide.
It's looking promising. The word is getting round. The families are getting the message, and certainly the sponsors we had are sticking to us. So we have been very, very careful, very responsible, always to make sure that we do things properly. Now on, we are also making extra efforts to improve communication, to show results, so they feel engaged, know better what is going on. So hopefully that will be an improvement on our part. Thank you for your support and guidance. We always look up to you for future encouragement, and there will be times when we'll say, help, we need some advice here. That's when you could help us solve some of the problems that you have faced and handled so effectively in the past. So look forward to your guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Marvin. Bye. Bye.